And thank you everybody for joining us today. It's really lovely to see everybody. So my name's Helen Davies and I work as a kind of freelance associate for various charities, including Contact. I was the vice chair of the Cheshire East Parent Carer Forum a number of years ago. And I'm also probably the most important job that I've got is I'm a parent carer to my daughter Megan, who's 15. She's got a very rare genetic condition. She has physical and learning disabilities and all sorts of various things. But yeah, so in in the old days, I always joke I had in inverted commas, proper job as a marketing manager. And through Megan, I now have a different career, which is more rewarding in some senses, but hopefully I can bring some of that marketing expertise across to you guys today. So yeah, thank you. It's lovely to meet you. I'll just hand over to Liz.
Hi there, thank you for everyone for joining us today. I work closely with Helen. I'm a parent carer too. I'm a full-time carer to my son Thomas, and I home educate him too. My background's in marketing. I've been working in marketing for the last 30 years now, running my own business, also as a lecturer, um, working with charities and within the community as well to build communities, working on engagement projects. And it's been a really wonderful opportunity to put this together to try and share the knowledge that I've gained over many years. And I'm also the resident geek of the partnership between Helen and I. So I'll be talking to you about AI a little later. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Liz. So obviously today is about raising awareness of your forum, thinking about engagement and how we raise the voices of local parent carers. So it's basically all about communication. And just to say, really, we know parent carer forums are all run very differently, with very different levels of capacity, funding, and confidence when it comes to communications and engagement. So just from the start, really, we want to say this session isn't about you doing more. It's about helping you do what you already do more clearly, more effectively, and more sustainably. We've had a number of conversations with parent carer forums when we designed this online learning event, and this was very much a collaborative exercise. And we kept hearing the same things, really. People are tired, people feel really stretched, and the volunteers are holding a lot of emotional labour because they're all parent carers as well. So there's this sense of pressure we kind of were hearing, and it's about posting more and consulting more and engaging more, all obviously in the name of making a tangible difference. So as I said before, really, we just hope that the information in the session will help to relieve some of that pressure and not add to it. And just kind of referring to the slides, really, you will receive these slides. They're going to be posted on the website. So just to say, obviously, there's an acknowledgement that ECFs have different amounts of resource. And it's really, I remember from my days in the Parent Carer Forum, the world was slightly different. It was probably about 10 years ago. But it is really difficult to balance that role of critical friend with being the voice of parent carers in your community, and we get that. And you know, I'm pretty sure we're all overwhelmed and time poor. And there's always that pressure as well to be visible and deliver really meaningful work, because that's why we do it, isn't it? Sorry, the other thing that I just wanted to say was there's quite a few people on this call on this video today. So feel free to put questions in the chat and we'll try and answer them as we go along. If we get absolutely loads and loads of questions and we're going to end up really fragmenting the flow of the session, we've put a question and answer session in towards the end anyway. So what we'll do is we won't ignore them. We will answer the questions at the end if that's the most appropriate way to do it. So we'll kind of wing it for now and see how many we get and what's the best way of dealing with them. So what we'll be covering today is the general principles of marketing, differing channels of communication. And again, you know, I mentioned that I was part of a forum. Well, I'm still part of the forum, but in terms of the sort of the team who were managing the forum, that was 10 years ago. And The world really has changed a lot in that 10 years. So, and it will continue to evolve in terms of channels of communication, the ways of getting to people. The ways of targeting different audiences as well is very much related to the channels of communication. So, what types of channels work for different types of people? Back in the day when I was a marketing manager, we used to do direct mails. We'd spend hours designing lovely folding envelopes that all went in the post. It doesn't really happen anymore because the world's moved on. So, there's lots of different channels to get to people, what works for different types of people. So, we'll have a think about that, looking at how to plan communications. And we're going to introduce the use of AI as well, and how that might be used, the pros and the cons, and then some practical examples and top tips from other forums as well. So hopefully that's what you thought you were here for. But as I say, please feel free to ask questions. So in terms of the general principles, I think the word marketing can feel a bit uncomfortable for a parent carer forum. When we talk about marketing in this session, we're not talking about selling or persuading or promoting for the sake of it. We're talking about something much more simple and kind of values led, making sure the right people understand who you are, what you do, and why it matters. So, effective marketing engagement, we've kind of touched on this anyway. The audience, that bit is really important. Who are the audience? Who are you trying to reach and what matters to them? What message then appeals to those different types of audiences? What's the thing that we want them to know or we want them to do? And the timing's always important as well. So is it the right moment for people to hear message that you've got? The channel, which again we've touched on already. So where will people see the message? Where are they most likely to go to see things? And the tone as well. So obviously you will all have your own set of values as an organization. So does the tone of the communication that you're putting out there feel like it's relatable to your own values in terms of the tone of voice? So the message really, if you can kind of get to grips with those things, then that is a good start for making sure that you are communicating effectively to the various audiences and getting your messages out there. What we wanted to do was just launch this poll at the very beginning of this session so that we could get a little bit of a temperature check on how confident you currently feel about the effectiveness of marketing and engagement for your forum. And then we'll run it at the end and see whether we've had any impact on that over the next hour and a half. So yeah, if you can hopefully see the poll on the screen and you can just sort of mark it how you currently feel, how confident you currently feel. So you've all answered. Thank you. And there's mainly threes, isn't there? So 54% are saying somewhere in the middle. 3% are saying fabulous. So yeah, 8% are not confident at all. 28% are somewhat not very confident. 51% are somewhere in the middle, and 13% are somewhat confident. So hopefully we can impact those scores when we look again at the end to see how you feel about it. Thank you so much for participating. I hate those polls when I'm asked to do them. I get a bit panicky that I'm going to click the wrong button. So you've all done it amazingly. Thank you. So we'll carry on. And the next one is actually going to be a group exercise. And we're going to talk about the different ways in which people talk to people about their forum. And none of this, the interactive parts of this, are about assessing anyone. It's really just about understanding the mix of experience and confidence in the room. And I think I mentioned before, we've spoken to 3 or 4 forums in great detail. So Sheffield, Bristol, Cheshire West, and Chester. Oh, I've forgotten the other one. But anyway, we completely get that some are volunteer led, some have paid staff, some are well established, and others have so little capacity, they're kind of really just holding things together. So this really helps us understand what the spread looks like. And as I say, we'll check in on this at the end. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to pop you into a couple of breakout rooms, probably like 3 or 4 maybe, Helen, to look at the different ways in which you talk to people about your forum. And then we'll come back and we'll just ask for 3 key responses, key themes that have come out of that. So, um, and it'll just be, I just want you guys to start thinking about really about what it is that you already do. And, we can kind of celebrate the successes that you already have and have some learnings as well, hopefully. I hope that was long enough. But, we can carry on the conversation a little bit now anyway. So I'll go to room one first. So we've got Dave, Georgie, Jessica, Kate, Kirsty, 2 Kirsties, Lucy, Melanie, Olivia, Rosemary, Ruth, and Varsha. So I don't know if you've assigned a spokesperson or if somebody just wants to tell us what the sort of key themes were around the different ways in which you talk to people about your forum. Does anybody want to?
I don't mind feeding back, and
Oh,
the others can chip in.
hi,
It
Dave.
was a variety of in-person, old school paper for those that aren't on the social media type stuff, as well as LinkedIn, Facebook, MailChimp, WhatsApp broadcasting, in-person events, coffee mornings, coffee afternoons, evenings, online, also, and everything has its little place.
Loads. Brilliant. I've got a burning question actually. Does anybody use TikTok? Because I was in the shower today thinking about TikTok. Um, and I just wondered if anybody actually did do stuff like that. Have you,
Um,
anyone ventured into that?
I'm I'm one of the, I will say, sorry,
Hi,
don't know.
Susie.
With TikTok, it's something that we've talked about, but the general consensus with TikTok is because you have to be so engaging with it, so you have to post
Yeah,
so regularly, it's kind of a time constraint thing because
yeah,
it's not really effective unless you're doing it daily and it's very like people focused, I suppose, and it's just a timing thing. But if
yeah,
anyone has had success with it, like without doing that, I'd love to know.
yeah. Nicola, you've got your hand up. Does that mean you guys are all TikTok stars?
No, 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 no. I'm struggling to manage just the Facebook page, to be
Oh,
honest.
bless you.
No, because it is just me at the moment. We
Right.
just don't have capacity for that. But what I was going to say is, what we're struggling with in terms of reach out to people. So we do a lot of things. Yes, we do the in person. We also do, and we started this one, and we're just about to post it, where we got officers to come along and do a question and answer session that was just recorded. So we do that once a month anyway, but this one didn't have any people come along to it because we're struggling with getting people to come along. So this is just going to be an information video that we're going to post out there and put on our website. But I do think that I we're struggling with social media reach. So I don't know how we get that. Some posts get about, we've got like in our Facebook groups, we've got about 800 people, yet the post only goes to about 100 reach. So I don't know how we improve that to get a bigger, wider message because we're not getting people at events to then reach people another way. That's really what I was going to raise.
Right.
Sorry.
No, thank you, Nicola, and thank you everybody, Susie and Dave. So Dave, you gave us this big list. Um, I'm not sure anybody else is going to be able to give me anything that you didn't have on that list, but and obviously I've thrown everything by being a bit dizzy and talking about TikTok out of context. Sorry. So yeah, we've got in-person, paper, LinkedIn, Facebook, online, and we've talked about the Facebook and Facebook reach, and we've had Jane in the chat talking about an Instagram page, which yeah, I mean, Instagram it's huge now, isn't it? And I think for a certain age demographic, it's used more than Facebook and other channels now. Um, and Sarah's saying, or Sarah, sorry, saying Durham have posted on TikTok, but they forget about it because of that thing that we've just talked about with Susie about the need to be kind of on it and interacting with it all the time. Um, I'm just scrolling down now. Podcasts as well. Brilliant. So sorry, I've kind of ruined this now. So shall I go to room two? So thank you, room one, and thanks for everybody else that's chipped in. So room two, we've got Emma, um, Justina, Katie, Lorna, Rachel, Sandra, Sarah, Stacey, Samita, and Teresa. Um, any other thoughts about stuff that you talked about of ways that you get your message to people? If we've covered everything anyway, just if someone just chips in and lets me
Yeah.
know.
Hi, Helen. This is Sumita. So I would like to share that we recently launched a newsletter, and we have a mailing list to of our parents' carers that we send. And along with that, we have also started our drop-in sessions. There are two locations that currently we are running our drop-in sessions, and we also go for coffee mornings to different schools, and we're open for collaborations. We get invites from different schools, so these are some in-person touch points. And also we send out information, and we do a lot of surveys and polls so through emailers. And we are currently working on building our new website and revamping our social media presence through Facebook and Instagram.
Wow. Which forum are you from, Samita?
I'm from Hillingdon Parents Carers Forum.
Hillingdon. That's a lot. Very
We're
busy.
trying. So yeah.
Just sound very busy. Amazing. Oh, thank you. I'm just going to have a quick look at the chat as well, because obviously people are putting stuff in there. Market stall events at schools, um, local authority education events, carer centres events, and more about podcasts. Yeah, podcasts are a really good idea, and they seem to be incredibly popular. Like people listen to them in the car and while they're running and things like that, as much I think as they do just music and things nowadays, don't they? Um, yeah. So there's a lovely conversation going on about podcasts, posts on Facebook, banners, posters, leaflets. Yeah, so the old paper. But for some audiences, that's still relevant. Parents' evenings, MailChimp. So we've talked about newsletters. So MailChimp is just a piece of software for those that don't know, where you can design and send out newsletters, coffee mornings, pins. Oh, now LSEC DVB. I know what SCMH means. So
Delivering better values, social, emotional, mental health,
yeah.
early language for every child project,
Early
and
language.
partnership
Right.
in neurodiversity in schools. And we also do neurodiversity education, and there's only two of us at the forum.
Wow, Jane. So you're busy too.
Always busy, not enough hours in the day.
Not in fact. And which forum are you from, Jane?
Oldham, and we've also got
Oldham.
our Oldham Parent Carer Conference coming up in April. We've got a themed
Right.
event next Thursday evening all day.
Wow.
The
So
neurodiverse pathway listening event, which is from 9:30 till 8 in the evening with 3 different sessions, all the same sessions, but 3 different timings.
wow. Busy then. And
Can I
yeah,
just
people are.
say, Georgie has her hand up, just so you're aware.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so busy looking at the chat. Georgie, please tell us what you wanted to say. Hi.
Hi, that's okay. I just wanted to ask other people, and they can reply in the chat, but from our little group, we had some people that said that they paid people to do comms, and then in some forums, it's kind of divided between everybody. So I just wanted to know how effective they think putting aside money to pay somebody to do specifically comms, and where on their list of priorities that is in terms of using funding for that.
Does anybody want to answer that who has some experience of being
Hi.
through a consultancy?
I can come in. So we pay somebody who works for another Send charity, and they're like our host charity. So she already understands us, knows what we're about. So we've not just sort of gone in blind trying to find a comms person. And generally, that charity would share a lot of things for us anyway. So we just send her anything we want putting out there, and she'll word it. If she thinks it's something that needs checking over, she'll send it back to us. But as time's gone on, we sort of she gets it, so we trust her now, and she knows more how we want it to come across. And it's just been so much easier because I can be a little bit. I can procrastinate too much about everything and look and go, we need it all in our colours and we need it to look like this and we need it to do that. And I'm not a marketer, so she clearly just gets it on and gets it done. And it's different every time, but equally it's got a theme running through it and it's great.
Yeah. So she kind of has created
a couple of hours a week. Yeah, and she's sort of created the brand and yeah.
Brilliant. And do you
she's just ad hoc.
Is that something you would recommend then on balance? Is it something that you're glad that you've invested in?
It's taken the pressure off,
yeah.
The small group of people that we've got. So yeah, it's been great.
Leslie has her hand up.
Leslie.
Yeah, I would second that as well. I mean, we take funding from the local authority every year, and we use that funding. We as a steering group decided we would use that funding to recruit a social media coordinator. And Kirsty's actually online with me now listening to this. And Kirsty has that expertise that we as a steering group don't. She's also a parent carer, so she understands where we're all coming from. But just that having somebody who's dedicated to communications and raising awareness and promoting what we do across various platforms. We are thinking about TikTok. We've just set ourselves up on Instagram, Facebook. We've been on Facebook for years, but the rest of us in the steering group don't have any expertise in managing that. And when we do, our time is better spent in strategic meetings and in work streams, and then paying somebody who has got the expertise to manage comms is just a more efficient way of us doing it. And definitely it's made a massive difference. Our numbers in terms of our membership has gone up by about 30% in the year since we've employed a social media coordinator.
Wow, that sounds amazing.
Helen, sorry, I was trying to put my hand up and I can't work out how to do it, which is really great, isn't it? I'm looking on Zoom and I'm
don't worry.
I did just want to say, because that is my role with our forum. I am paid to do that. I do have some background in with marketing, and I think it's really, really is beneficial. So following on from what everyone else has kind of said, but one of the things that I want to really try and do within our forum is have everyone else understanding why it's so important. So that's one of the reasons why I'm sort of here today, so I can kind of take some stuff back, because without that marketing and that reach, you don't have that parent care forum, do you? So I would say it's definitely worth having someone who knows what they're doing, do it if you've got the capacity to pay for it, because it's really beneficial. And if you're someone like me that's a parent carer, you'll do it for not so much money.
I mean it's always tricky, isn't it? Money and paying people. I mean, it's always been, and it's vastly different across the country in terms of how people approach that. But I mean, I guess you can support each other with, because there's loads of little tricks about. I've forgotten who said about the reach. Forgive me. Somebody was saying about the reach of their Facebook posts, and they're not getting, even though there's 800 members, they're just not. So there's loads of little tricks and ways of how to do that. So even if you just paid for, or quite often, I know in our community there are people who will give pro bono support. So there are marketing agencies that would give you a couple of hours of their time to just give you a load of information and advice specific to your individual issues and problems. And Facebook reach and search engine optimization and all sorts of things that involve algorithms and stuff that's way above my head, although my colleague Liz probably knows all about it. But that, I know that there's an agency who helped us back in the day in Cheshire. And I'm pretty sure, there will be others. There are connecting there are organisations that connect expertise to voluntary organisations and charities, and they do it as part of their corporate social responsibility. So it's definitely worth investigating that locally. Even if you do that as a preamble to potentially thinking about paying somebody, I would suggest.
Nicola has her
Rach,
hand up.
sorry. Yeah,
Nicola.
Nicola.
Sorry, it was me. I mean,
Oh, it was you, Nicola, with
yes.
the reach. Sorry.
No, it's all right. We have reached. I didn't know about the charities bit, and I will have a look into that. But we really have reached out. I've put adverts out there. I've asked people to join, and people do it for a couple of weeks and then step away, and so it's back to me again doing it. So that's the bit that I'm really struggling with. It's just if we could get somebody, I would love it. It's not me doing it personally because I feel possessive. I want it to be done properly and out there. I just can't get anybody to do it. I would pay
So
somebody.
is that because they've come and done it as a volunteer, or you've paid them?
No, so anybody that does any work for us, we offer pay for.
Right. Okay.
So it's an hourly rate. We always offer that because we don't feel that parent carers should do things unless they want to do it. It's always offered. Obviously, if they don't put a timesheet in or they don't want to get paid for their work, that's entirely up to them. But we have a flat rate. And if that wasn't enough, then we would always negotiate more if we could afford it. It's just I don't know who to reach. That's what I'm asking, if you understand what I mean, because clearly just asking parent carers isn't the way to go. I mean, I've got somebody that's supposed to be taking on some of my stuff, so I tell her what to post, and I'm still doing it because I don't know, like she's created graphics and then put nothing with the graphic and just puts the graphic up, and I'm like, there needs to be wording with the graphics to get the graphic seen. And so I'm ended up going back in and doing work, which actually should have been taking it off me. We've got people that are willing to do it, but not expertise in it. And that's the bit I'm missing. And I don't know how to get that. That's what.
Okay. And Rachel, I don't know if you wanted to chip into. I can see that you put something in the chat. Rachel Clark. Great, go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, we go out to our families a lot in those ways that I've kind of popped on the chat. We're in Norfolk, so geographically we're really widespread, and we don't currently have coffee mornings. We used to do kind of like round the county things, and the numbers coming were so few. And in the breakout room that I was in, and I think it was Leslie a little while ago who said how much her or their membership had increased. And that was what I wanted to ask, because no matter what we're doing at the moment, we're not actually getting those sign-ups. And I don't know if it's because families can get what they need from us because we're on social media, because our newsletter is on our website. There's nothing that they get by actually signing up, and that then will affect, we're not seen to be growing our membership because we're not getting those names on paper. And I wondered what other people, what works for other people in increasing their membership.
Leslie, I know you put your hand up as Rachel was talking, so do you want to add anything to that?
I was going to say the two biggest things that increase our membership is offering free training. So we've just done SOS Send's legal officer Eleanor Wright has just ran 2 online sessions for us, a daytime and an evening one. and that increased membership significantly. And then earlier last year, we did a market stall event in coordination with the local authority, and a full day event from sort of like 9:30 in the morning till 8 o'clock in the evening, and that increases membership massively. As well as we did a forum in September, and again, forums always massively increase. Like when I say forums, I mean a daytime and an evening, like large scale conference where we advertise, and that's the benefit then of having somebody paid to do all your comms. So we promote it all across Facebook, across local groups, and just that. And it goes out to all schools and Sencos as well. But having free events where parents can come in and speak to the Assistant Director of Education, the Head of SEND, the Commissioning Manager for NHS Services, the DISCO, having those people in a room during the day and an evening, that massively increases membership.
See, our excuse me, our conference is in 9 days, and we've got about 260 parent carers signed up at the moment. There will be huge dropout. That's what we find every year. But there'll be a large proportion, I think, looking at the names this year, that we haven't yet signed up for us, if you know what I mean. So essentially, they're still coming to the conference and having that day, but they don't go down on our database. And I'm just wondering how you kind of nail people to it, really.
Yeah. So I wasn't sure what you meant about them not going on your database, Rachel. I'm not sure. So they've signed up with you, but they don't give permissions for you to keep hold of their data, do you mean? Or
no, they don't have to be a member of Family Voice to come to the conference. I mean,
right.
ideally, whilst they're there, we are saying to them, are you already a member? If you're not, please do sign up, because your voice is important, and all of that kind of thing. But I think that has been one of our biggest things. We do. It's half termly now, but they've been really frequent. We go out again with the local authority. We have a Making Sense of Send, so we're going to various locations in Norfolk that parents are coming to, and we're out there and we're doing. But it is that kind of, like I said,
like converting people from
yes,
that to membership,
just knowing about us to actually coming on board. And there's nothing that they get. And I'm wondering if we should withdraw our newsletter from anybody can access it on the website to something you only get if you're a member. It's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it benefit. I mean, we are going to talk about some stuff further down, but yeah, having a differentiated offer to members versus non-members is probably important, and because otherwise, why would they? But I'm sure everybody's got loads of examples, but I'm conscious Sophie had a hand up.
Thank you.
Sophie, did you want to say anything? I know you put your hand up when Rachel was talking.
I'm just going to say to Rachel, so we have to attend our events. So basically, quick story, someone came to one of our virtual events that wasn't a parent carer. And so since then, we put all our events private. So to attend our event, you have to be a member. So it's a case of on our social media, if you want to get first look at events, if you want to come to events, you have to be a member. It's a bit more manual because then we have to sign them up first, but at least they remember them. That's how we do it.
Right, bro.
Based our membership.
Yeah, all good ideas. I know there's loads of stuff in the chat as well, so have a read. I think we probably won't be able to go to everybody that's put something in the chat, but I would encourage everybody on here to read the chat while we're kind of going through. I don't know, I'll ask Helen, my colleague Helen, whether the chat can be shared, because there's loads of really good ideas on there. Whether the chat can be shared as well as the slides as well, because you probably got as much great information on the chat as you have in these slides that we're going to go through. I haven't even asked rooms 3 and 4. So we are going to move on soon to just talk through some of that. I mean, we've covered quite a lot of the things that we're going to talk about anyway, but did room 3 and 4 have any other burning topics in terms of the ways in which you talk to your forums that we've not already mentioned? Or anything that you wanted to say? Didn't want to ignore rooms 3 and 4, but I'm sure some of you have already spoken separately anyway. Okay. We'll move through, but obviously I think the fact that this is a really interactive session is brilliant. And I think you guys are probably going to share the best information with each other anyway, and hopefully we can just kind of guide you through the topics. So we'll talk about channels, and I think, to be honest, you've mentioned more than that there are on this slide. So we've touched on all of these. There's no gold standard channel mix for parent care forums because it's very much dependent on your audience, quite often your geography, quite often the kind of socio-demographics of your audiences as well. And what works in one area won't necessarily work in another. So it's not really about what channels should we use, it's about what channels are the most appropriate for our parents, partners, and your capacity as well. So obviously, it's very evident today that there's a huge mix of different types of organizations behind your PCFs with, people managing it single-handedly to, people having paid staff and things like that. So I think this session, if nothing else, would be a great way to learn from each other. So yeah, which channels are most appropriate? I think somebody's mentioned some of these, but from the conversations we've had with the forums that we spoke to when we were developing these slides in this session, people reach parents through schools. And I think somebody said that they had, was it Samita, that they've got sessions in schools. And we spoke to a forum who have a rep in each school in their area so that they can put messaging directly into those
Yes, that's
parents.
correct.
Yeah,
Nicola and Lewis were connected with various mainstream schools through pins. And then
yeah,
with special needs schools also, we get invited for coffee mornings. And now we are also planning on, like with Eden Academy Trust, our mention is there on their website. So we do get invited for collaborative or coffee mornings in some of the schools.
yeah. And I think that's great because that is a really great example of understanding your audience and going where they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a really key, aside from the fact we're talking about parent care forums, that is a key thing for marketing and communication. You get the right
Yeah.
message at the right time to the right person, and you find ways to get to them. So there's other organisations of certainly for early years, because I think, and I remember when I was in a parent care forum, it's really tough to find access into early years families because they don't
Yeah.
actually identify at that stage as parent carers.
Children's centers are one of the amazing places that we can do that. And also,
Yeah,
I feel when schools or children's centers or family hubs gives us
family
access,
hubs. Yeah, yeah,
that builds a lot of genuine credibility that, we are there and we have a voice and you can. And what we have also experienced is that when parents directly talk to us, they are a
yeah,
bit more open, they're a bit more vulnerable because they
yeah,
know that we are also in their shoe. And then,
exactly.
how
Yeah,
to navigate, whether they're,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's
thank
peer
you.
support, isn't it? And it's safer.
Yeah.
I've just seen Sarah's post that she got a post that once reached 10,000 people and she felt like a Kardashian. I mean, that is a massive measure of success. Goodness. Um, so yeah, health visitors I was going to mention in terms of that sort of getting to early years parents and supporting them through that kind of early support, early help. Um, CAMS community groups, Facebook, etc. So it's basically using a small number of well-chosen, well-understood channels. And that'll always outperform a big long list of everything, face-to-face, paper, online, offline, videos. try and understand your families and what they're going to need. And it can be segmented as well by different age groups, which we've just said that early years parents are going to be found in a different place, and in a different place mentally as well as parents a bit further down the line. And obviously, we've said on the slide here that channels have different strengths and risks, but different moderation needs as well. So, there's always a challenge for social media and potentially the need for moderation. And, we've just said about find out what people need, where they are, what messages are going to get through which channels, and then exercise restraint, because comms restraint in itself is a strategy. So just because you've put 40 messages out in a week, it's not necessarily the activity metrics are not impact metrics. So restraint can enable more of a strategic focus, more consistency, and more sustainability, and quality over quantity, in all practices, in all walks of life are better. So, yeah, it's just really what should we use, and what is our capacity, and what is working, and moving with the times as well, because what worked last year might not work this year either. So just kind of revisiting it. And we've talked again, I think it's really important that we make sure that you get the chat, because there's loads of, and there's another 19 messages in there since I last looked. So there's absolutely loads of ideas there from everybody, which, yeah, all great stuff. Yeah, and send it. So I've just flicked through, and somebody's talked about Sendias, local offers, and marketplaces and things like that, which is where you can find people, access to people. So just to say that engagement starts with clarity. So everybody in this room understands what a parent carer forum is. But one of the biggest barriers to engagement that we see and we've heard about isn't a lack of goodwill or effort. It's that different audiences hold kind of different mental models of what the forum does. So a strong forum doesn't just know its role, but it communicates that role really clearly, to make sure that people understand what. And it's like every marketing message. If the audience understands what's in it for them and why it's important, then they're more likely to engage. So, there might be a misconception. Parents might assume this is where I can bring an individual grievance or an individual case. Professionals and practitioners might assume that this is a consultation group. They might say that we take stuff there after we've made the decision about it, which obviously isn't the case. And there's a quote from one of the leaders that we spoke to, one forum leader. She said, "We're not here to fix individual cases. We're here to influence the system so that fewer families end up in crisis." So when the purpose isn't communicated, sometimes the engagement can become fragmented, and people don't really know what it is they're signing up to. They don't understand the importance of it and how they can impact in different ways. So yeah, obviously we know that forums exist to represent the collective voice of carers, to work in partnership with education, health and social care, and to influence through participation and co-production. And I remember back in the day, I didn't understand what co-production was, so it's even articulating that in a really easy to understand way. Once I appreciated that actually I could genuinely take part in something that might make a positive impact to the community, it really floated my boat. I mean, it's not going to float everybody's boat, but yeah, initially it wasn't articulated clearly enough to me about that's what you could do. That's how you could get involved. So one forum told us that once they stopped going into meetings kind of with the fight mentality, everything changed, and were seen by the statutory services that they were working in partnership with as a critical friend rather than an opponent. And I mean, we could have a whole session 4 sessions about that, couldn't we? So they were still honest, they were still challenging, but they were seen as credible partners, and building that credible partner kind of relationship with the people that you're working with in the statutory areas, in the statutory services, is absolutely essential. And the audiences that we were talking about before, your audiences also include those practitioners and those professional organisations. So you need to think about how you get to them as well and build that trusted relationship with them. So when the role is unclear, forums can absorb frustration and anger, and there can be sort of adversarial feelings, and the dynamic can become a bit adversarial. So when the role is clear, and I think this really happened for me, parents understand why their input matters, why it's important, why practitioners need to and will take forums seriously, and that the engagement then becomes purposeful. So we've kind of touched on this anyway. So different forums need different kinds of engagement. Sometimes a quick sense check is enough, a WhatsApp poll or something, or a conversation at a coffee morning. You go in that coffee morning that day, and you just want to get a temperature check from the people that you talk to that day about something. Other times you might well need a structured survey, or some quantitative data that can stand up in a report or at a meeting. One forum told us about how they feel their approach is to gather snapshots of opinion, but not a running commentary on everything. So gathering right evidence at the right moment in the right format, and it to strengthen the forum's credibility. So yeah, and we've said this before, that it's basically asking the right people at the right time for a real definite reason. Engagement, I suppose, before we talk about whether something's working or not, it helps to look at how we interpret engagement. So on social media, it's really easy to equate engagement with visible activity like comments and posts and likes and thumbs up and things. But the forums we spoke to said that only really tells part of the story. So engagement often can happen later, privately. So a parent reading an update and feeling reassured, an email or a survey, or a professional referencing the PCF's work in a meeting. So you're not going to see that immediately. And how do you capture that? So, and all of those are forms of engagement, even if it's not kind of publicly evident. So sometimes if there is low posting, it means parents are quite happy and confident that you're representing them. They're kind of watching and learning, or parents might not be sure it's the right space to ask. So again, we kind of go back to the point that we made earlier about activity metrics are not necessarily impact metrics. So you might think you're not really engaging because you're looking at your Facebook activity and your engagements and things like that, but it's happening elsewhere potentially. So it's not just about public reactions, it's about private responses and responses to surveys and things like that. How many people turn up at an event? How many people talk about it? And I know this was certainly true for me when I got involved with the Parent Care Forum. People will show up if they feel their involvement helps to really drive tangible, positive change, which shows the value of their engagement. So this is like answering that so what question. Why should I get involved? I've got hardly any time. Why is it important? And some reasons why parents don't engage is that they might never get to the point of recognizing that the forum is for them. Again, we've mentioned it earlier, but people might not really know what the Parent Carer Forum does. And in some cases, and I'm sure a lot of us can identify with this, certainly earlier on in our journeys, they didn't realize they were a parent carer. That terminology, that label, people may not identify with it at all. And there's also a significant group of parents who are often outside the usual information loops. So, we talked about having representatives within schools who are kind of influencing that way, but home educating families, there's a lot of those now. How do we get to them? Parents of autistic children without visible needs, parents who aren't in receipt of any services or benefits, they're just sort of existing somehow with their child potentially in a mainstream school, and they're just not in that loop. But information may never get to them through existing networks, is just the point on that bit, really. So if information only travels through formal systems, it'll only ever reach families who are already inside those systems, really, is the message. So kind of a bit of a waffly way of explaining what's on the slide. A lot of you've talked about surveys, and we've touched on surveys in terms of, you can map out your engagement, and you can build that trusted relationship with the statutory services by having some great data that comes from surveys which capture the voices of parents, understand your effectiveness, how you represent parents, provide high quality insight to those statutory partners, and demonstrate the impact of your work. Yeah. So I think some of you've said in the chats about you doing surveys and things like that. I know when we spoke to, I think it was Cheshire West and Chester, they've done some great stuff on surveys, and I think there's some information. We've got some links to other bits. We've got like a workshop on Canva that have already been done by Sarah and her team. So we've put some links to some of the relevant other workshops that you might want to look at the recordings. That link into all this. I know somebody was talking about Canva on the chat before, and surveys. So there's more information about those more specifically in the links further down in the resources section on this presentation. So we weren't gonna send you off into breakout groups for this one. I just wondered if anybody's got some thoughts about a communications plan and why you might need one. And I think you can either speak out loud or put it in the chat. Oh, Nicola, you've raised your hand.
Yeah, so we have a social media plan, and it's not a communications plan, but we have a social media plan, and we do different things on different days for different things. So every week, every Saturday, it's we ask for snaps, so little emojis or pictures from our community about what their children have been doing. And then on a Sunday, it's like a wins day. So any wins from the week. So it's not all like negative stuff if we're putting out there. And then on a Wednesday is our charity day. So we look at sort of a day that's going on nationally or locally that we emphasize, because there's different areas of the community for that. And then on a Tuesday and a Thursday, we ask specific questions about stuff that's coming up or information. And then on a Friday, we post out all the things that happen in the following week or the following month. And then on a Monday, we sort of do a catch up of things that have happened. So we have a plan that we have a consistent posting, but they're not just posting, they're themed. So if like that it's going to come on this day, and then we might have to share other things in between, but we do try to be a little bit consistent with it. And we have consistent graphics for certain days to make it easier to filter through what's coming on. But we've done that because one thing was, local people asked for better, more consistent communication via social media. But actually what it hasn't done is created any more engagement with the because I think the thing is, I don't know what I'm doing that's not triggering the post reach, if that makes sense. So
yeah, And I think if you could maybe just spend an hour with a local social media agency and get them to help you with your kind of optimization, the ways that you do messages, the ways that you hashtag them, the types of imagery that you might use in there can all do, wonders for the algorithms. I mean, like I say, I don't profess to know it in any great detail, but there's definitely tricks, and I'm
And can I,
sure the people have put some in the chat as well.
yeah, and I
Timing
just,
of the day, yeah.
yeah, so if it's on our group, it gives us optimum times. So I schedule posts for optimum times.
Yeah.
The other thing is, yes, posting in local groups, but we're limited to that because some groups only will allow us to post once a month, and
Right.
some groups, although we've got it's slightly confusing because there's a group of parents. So we are called the Bracknell Parent Carer Forum, and there's a group of parents that run a similar thing, not similar thing, but a similar Facebook group that are called Parent Carers Bracknell.
Right. Oh.
And and they are the ones which are particularly difficult. Share your profile. I don't know about that. I'll have a look at that. The one thing I was just going to say is, can I just big up Canva? If you use it, I mean, I do. It takes me now 2 hours to do our posts for the week via Canva, and I use AI as well to help us write the posts because I ask them for specific hashtags and stuff like that. And yeah, it doesn't. It's not perfect. You still have to work your way through it, but actually run it through an AI software, and you get a really professional sounding post without having to sort of worry too much. And they also, if you're asking for it to post on a particular platform, it will put the emojis and all of that in, so that saves you time.
That's brilliant. And, scheduling through Meta Business Suite for Insta and Facebook, all of those things and somebody's mentioned about £100 a year. So I don't know if you all know that if you are registered as a charity, you can get Canva for free. So you just have to prove your status as a charity and they give you Canva Premium for free. So try try that. It's not laborious. You just have to go on to their website and apply for it. Sarah, go on.
It's Sarah. Anyway.
Sarah, sorry.
Yeah,
Sarah.
we tried to get it for free and they refused us. They said that we didn't qualify, so we just pay for it.
Oh, even if are you registered as a charity?
We're a CIO, a
How
charity, and we said,
strange.
they said that we didn't qualify, so we just pay for it. So I gave up. But
Oh, what a shame.
I did know that I did know that it should be free, but we applied and they said that we didn't qualify due to the type of charity we were. So
maybe you have to be a charity rather than a CIC. I don't know. I know I've registered for two organisations.
No, we're a charity. We're a CIO, so it's a charity.
How strange.
And yeah, they said that we didn't qualify because of the type of charity that we were.
Right.
So we just pay.
Well, it does work for some because I know I've registered two charities that I do some work for as onto their free premium, but sounds like you just had bad luck there. Sorry, Sarah.
Yeah, I think I was just due next week, I think. So I'll have a look into it today before we pay.
Maybe
try again. Thank you.
Is that the same for a CIC? Lucy has asked that question in the chat.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know it definitely should be for charities, but have a look on their website. If you just search on Canva, free for charities, it'll give you the information on their page there. Not 100% sure whether they distinguish between different types of non-profit organisation. Oh, maybe CICs is not then, Rachel. Not sure. Yeah, Gail, you're a CIO and you've got it for free. So maybe they're not particularly consistent. Maybe it depends who looks at your application, but definitely try. And on the resources page that we've got towards the end of the session, there's the link to the Canva how to online learning event, which if you've not already seen it, it's probably worth having a look at. Oh, yeah. It just doesn't make sense. It'll be some computer says no thing, won't it, Sarah? Sorry, I don't know. So communication plan. I think we've covered some of these. So as with any organisation, it's really important to plan across the year to ensure that you've got the right resources in place to manage what's coming up. How you might manage unplanned work. So, you asked to drop everything by the local authority to put a survey out to parents for X, Y, and Z, or like whatever that might be. What are the touch points? Who are the audiences? What are the key messages? And you can plan for some of those across the year, can't you? Like seasonal stuff, deadlines for applying for school places, or whatever it is that you want to communicate out. But the communications plan will definitely help you with capacity planning, and it's a tight ship, isn't it? So agreed roles, who's doing what, and somebody put something in the chat before about making sure that you don't duplicate effort, because that's a disaster, isn't it? If you're already running a really tight ship with very little resource, the last thing you want is to be duplicating stuff. The right message to the right audience at the right time. The plan can help you achieve that. We've talked a little bit about seasonality, avoiding demands within school holidays, looking at agreed criteria for communication. Like I think we spoke to one forum who said that they would only repost things if they were free, if they were local. They had specific criteria for promoting things from the forums page, things like that. Timely engagement. So, do you already know when there's stuff that's going to be needed throughout the year because the local authority or the ICB have told you about something? So, making sure that you know who's doing what and when, and being able to say no if you know that they're going to be demands on you at a time when everybody's going to be away, or it's going to be really difficult because it's a school holiday. And that lines up with the last bullet point on here about the statutory partners plans. At the beginning of the year, can you do some planning with them and work out, well, what are their plans? How is that going to impact you over the course of the year? And the communications that you're going to need to put out and engage with your members. And thank you. The Canva for Nonprofits links on there. It's going to be on these slides as well. So some people have already talked about using AI. So I'm going to hand over to my lovely colleague Liz, because she is much smarter than I am in terms of how these things work.
Okay, it's lovely seeing in the comments that AI came up when we were talking to various forums about tools they use to work with. It really is, when it comes to AI, because some people are engaging with it lightly, some forums are engaging not at all with it. It really varies depending on who's working in each group. The main message I want to say, it's about working smarter, not harder. As a parent carer myself, I know how precious time and energy is. And when I find a tool that helps me get through analysis or data or whatever faster, then I'm going to use that tool. So I'm just going to talk to you about where AI could be useful to you, where other forums are using it currently. Okay, so we're not saying that everyone should be using this, but you need to be aware of it as a potential tool for you and to think about the breadth of ways in which it can help you. So some forums told us that they were using it for drafting reports and structuring content. It reduced the pressure on them from starting from scratch when they were creating posts or campaigns or posters. Use of AI also can help with consistency across communications. So you can give something like ChatGPT, like multiple versions of posts that you've used. It can help with tone and the language that you're using to make sure that it's consistent. We've got text tools available to us like ChatGPT, but we've also got image-based tools that we've just been talking about, Canva or Adobe Firefly. And those can be used for, as has been mentioned, like generating posters or images to go with social media posts. It can help with, as mentioned in the comments, infographics for annual report writing or generating stats from your all the research that you've been doing within your forums. It can help with captioning, it can help with transcription, it can also help with accessibility, in terms of accessibility, if you want to put written versions explaining what are in pictures, etc. So what we need to think about is, yes, it is this amazing tool, but it's how we can use it appropriately. And we think about the delicacy of the relationship with the parent-carer forum and the audience that we're talking to. Authenticity is incredibly important. So much of the work the parent-carer forum does is based on trust. You are trusted counterparts of people in the community. We know from first-hand experience that we're struggling, like I said, with time poor, we're sometimes met with judgment, etc. So keeping an authentic voice. So this is the human aspect that can't be replaced by AI. So when you're using it as a tool, you really need to keep a check on, is it still sounding like your forum, or is it using the right language to speak to your audience? Would the parents in your area recognize this coming from your group in particular, if you've got a certain branding that you want to carry across? And that needs to be consistent in the language, not just visually, but in terms of the words used. Does it reflect lived experience? That human aspect of, I know what this feels like. So if you're trying to get that across in your comms, sometimes AI can just make things a bit more general and bland, when really the human vulnerability that sometimes we bring to comms is what engages people and builds that trust. And we can use AI as well to help with making some of the work that we do safer. So it can help with anonymity. So it can help with red accent information. It can vet things to make sure that we're not sharing things that are too sensitive. It can make sure that we're not looking to name professionals specifically. So, we can give AI a chunk of information, or perhaps an annual report or whatever, and it can check it on various levels to see that, basically double check our work. And I always use a prompt to say, what am I missing? So I don't just ask AI to help it with a specific thing, but I also ask it to tell me what I might be overlooking or what else it could help me with. So as I say, trust is incredibly important in the work that you do, in the marketing comms that you do with your audience. So make sure that AI is helping you and not hindering in that trust building. So if we nip onto the next slide. So it can help with de-jargonizing information into plain English. So we know that within our lived experiences, 3-letter acronyms that follow me through my life everywhere is a parent carer for my son, but people coming fresh to our arena, our community as parent carers, it can help with making it more accessible. We can use AI for translating material into alternative languages. We had one forum talk to us about using AI to audibly record meetings and generate meeting notes very quickly after meetings, including prompts for people to action after meetings. We had people talk to us who were neurodivergent, and they found that AI was helping them translate their thoughts more easily. People who are dyslexic, helping them formulate and put down their ideas in a really structured and clear way. It can help brilliantly with generating stats or headlines from survey data. So, there are really powerful tools now at our fingertips, and the quality of what they're producing is just rapidly growing. So it can also help in terms of access needs, as I said, in terms of dyslexia, cognitive load. If you're feeling particularly stressed, it can help volunteers. And this is a really important one, especially in groups and social media. There's a statistic that about 50% of written comms can be misunderstood and misread in terms of tone. So getting AI to sense check the tone of an email, if it's over something particularly delicate, can be really helpful to give you just a bit of objectivity. So we go back to what Helen said about trying to, a lot of the forums mentioned this mindset shift of trying to look like a collaborator with the local authority and partner organisations, and it being less combative and just, this is where AI can come in and help you check the tone of your communications is appropriate and can just offer some suggestions as how to tweak it. So lots of tools available, many people using ChatGPT. There's also Claude as well, which is better at looking at broader research. ChatGPT is more conversational. There's Adobe Firefly, there's Canva, there's a whole host of tools out there for it. Nip onto the next image now, please. So in terms of best practice, when we're looking at generating images, posters, we really need to keep it authentic. So using real photographs from real events, this adds to this layer of trust that we need to continue. AI is brilliant if we just say, can you create an image or an illustration that depicts, you know, an engagement in a park or a coffee morning or whatever. But that isn't going to be as powerful as somebody recognizing the room in their school where they go and have a coffee morning. Don't be so smitten with the gloss that AI can offer in terms of aesthetics over the trust that real photographs, even if they're not the best photographs, can actually do in building links to your community and talking to people in a real level about places that they recognise. Obviously, with images, you need to get consent, especially if there's children, but if we're just talking parent carers, just getting an okay from people. Keep them informal and honest as to how an event looks like. You know, we all know the difference between a flyer coming through the letterbox where everyone is posed for maybe a political pamphlet or whatever, and it doesn't look as genuine as a group of relaxed parents talking in a circle and having a coffee together. That informal nature that is captured in images like that is really important at lowering the barrier to making that event okay, especially talking as somebody who's neurodivergent and has a degree of social anxiety. Knowing what the environment is that I'm going to go into makes it easier for me to access those events rather than an illustration of what a coffee morning might look like that doesn't really tell me what the people might look like, what the place might look like, etc. You can use AI to generate simple consent forms if you need to use that for recording or video. And you can use AI to generate images that, you know, sort of diagrams or infographics, as was mentioned before, in terms of if you're generating annual reports or putting together stats from surveys that you've done within your forum. So yeah, avoid AI and stock images of parent carers because that undermines the trust. Avoid using, even though it seems wonderful, overly polished visuals can actually be a barrier and inhibit the trust that you could actually be building. So avoid images that don't match reality, because I went on a local authority website recently and I saw that all of the images were just so artificially generated that I would rather have there been no images than images that weren't truly reflecting reality. So the core message to you is that trust is everything to your relationship with your community that you're building and trying to reach. So, and anything that undermines your authenticity can reduce engagement. So when it comes to using AI, do it mindfully, use it to help you work smarter. and not, you don't have to work as hard, but just balance it with this mindfulness of humanity and trust. Okay. Hope that helps a little.
Thank you, Liz. I'm really conscious we spent a long time, longer than we'd expected, which was brilliant. I mean, I think probably we could have done a whole half day on this, couldn't we, where we were sharing best practice and sharing our own experiences. So we'll whiz through this and do the polls. These I mentioned that we talk to other forums, so these will come in your pack anyway. These would, and I've actually talked about most of these anyway. So some of the things that they told us would be top tips for us to tell you were YouTube channels, assigning roles to reps based on skills, which I know sounds obvious, but maybe do a little skills audit and find out what skills people have got, what can they realistically do, manage expectations about the effort and time required, annual surveys, engage in school specific reps, which we talked about. I know I'm whizzing through, but I just don't want to keep you all too late. Don't overwhelm parents, think about quality over quantity, allow maybe for temporary pauses as well as opt-outs for communication. Don't reinvent the wheel. So if you're struggling to reach people, piggyback on an existing thing, maybe at the family hub, a coffee morning, a local support group. Provide clear rules of engagement to ensure consistency and avoiding reputational risk, and focus on the positive developments as well as the challenges. And I know sometimes there's so many challenges, it can be hard to kind of put the communication out about that really good news about the thing that happened with the local authority that went really well, but try and put those out too when we've got them. So Helen, I don't know if you can just pop the poll on. I'm sorry that I've kind of rushed the last little bit, but hopefully that bit at the beginning where we really shared that information and we'll share that chat, hopefully did support you with some real life examples of what you can do as well. Perfect. So hopefully it has gone up a little bit. So hopefully some of you have learnt a little bit from there. Amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah. So I can see that generally the percentage has moved up a little bit. So even if you just learnt one thing from today, that makes me happy. And I'm sure it makes Liz and Sarah and Cindy and Helen happy too. And the recording will be put on the website as well, so you can watch it back. So these are just clickable links. Again, these will be available, the slides will be available afterwards for things that are already there. So using Canva, creating surveys, looking at how you use data, measuring your impact, the link to the overall handbook. I mean, you've probably seen most of these, but I thought I'd put them in because they were all relevant and kind of tie into what we've talked about. Participation advisors, and then other learning and events for forums. Just thought it might be helpful to put the links directly there. So I know Liz and I would be happy to stay on for a little bit for any other questions. But clearly we have come to the end of our allocated time. So I hope that you have learned at least one thing from today. And I'm really, really grateful for your amazing input and interactivity, because there's quite a lot of us. So yeah, we will definitely make sure that we send the notes from the chat as well. Thank you.